Hey everybody, we're going to do something a little different today and talk about my setup and my workflow. If you're thinking about getting into 3D resin printing, you're probably going to need a whole bunch of equipment besides the printer. I have here the Anycubic Photon Mono X. You can see it's in the middle of printing right now. This is going to be something pretty large that's going to fill most of my build plate. How much time do I have left here? I still got 12 hours to go, and it's been running since this morning. So this is going to be like a 22-hour print. Okay, so things you're going to need, obviously, printer. Okay, that's pretty obvious. But what else do you need? And then I'm going to go over some of the nice-to-haves. So what you see here, everything in the frame here now, printer, and this is the USB stick that came with the printer, came with the Mono X. That's how you're going to get files on and off, even though this does have Wi-Fi connectivity. That's really for monitoring the app, and you can also start and pause prints from the mobile app, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to put that in the need to have category if you want to do resin printing. Other things I set up here, you're going to want a nice flat sort of stable space to put the printer, something nice and level. I actually leveled mine, so there's a couple of shims here under this wood and under the feet, just to make sure that the surface is level. So that way you don't have any problems with the printer itself. Okay, so you need a surface, you need a place. This does give off, right now I'm using the Elegoo standard resin, and I find it to be very low odor. I run this, like I said, this thing's running... It's going to be running for about 22 hours straight, and it's in my basement. I do have a window here I can open if I need to, but for the most part, I can crack that if I need to. But it's really pretty low odor while it's running in my basement. It's not a giant basement, but I find that resin to be low odor. However, if you're using other resins, they might be higher in odor. You might want to consider having some space that you can, get some fresh air in. Or if you're really in sort of more extreme environment, some people build enclosures or something. In the Mono X, the vents, the outputs are actually on the bottom, the inlets in the back. So it makes it a little tricky. You'd have to actually put this in or on something, and there's plenty of things you can print to do that, or just build something or Google it, you'll find it. Okay, fine. You're gonna need power. Obviously, I just epoxied this to the wall so I could have an array of stuff. It's cool. I can kill everything in one shot. I have a light because I need a light. This is actually to tell me what the temperature is down here. Optimal resin printing temp is supposedly around 80 degrees or so. That's what this is. It's a heater. I just kind of run it here. Okay, so that's probably in the nice to have, probably not a must have, but if you're really striving for, consistent quality prints, I've been printing like crazy since I got this thing. I only had one fail, and that was because I blindly trusted the light auto supports, and I expected it. I just had to see it for myself, and it definitely made me a pancake. So there's that. Also, in the nice to have category, I've got a webcam here that lets me keep an eye on my print. I can see sort of the build area, I can see the screen, and I can keep an eye on this heater all at one shot wirelessly. That's in a nice to have category. That's not a must have category. So far, printer, electricity, stable build surface. Okay, easy. Resin, you're going to need, of course, rags. These Scott towel rags, these all-purpose rags are pretty heavy duty. I like them. You're going to need a lot of rags. You're going to need a lot of gloves, which I have over here. Beer, but not necessary. Definitely a nice to have. I've got plenty of gloves. These sort of thin and relatively inexpensive gloves are good for just kind of setting up the machine, some lightweight cleaning and things. You're going to need filters if you're going to filter the resin back in, or filter your isopropyl alcohol. These gloves I highly recommend, except for they're very expensive. but these are excellent, very sturdy gloves. I use these to work on my motorcycle, and then obviously do some 3D printing stuff with them. So, okay. And you can see the difference of these things. They're like a much sturdier type of material. All right, so these are all must-haves. Gloves, definitely. Funnels, definitely. Mask, I would say probably. I have a couple different masks up here. This I use for, you know, automotive painting and stuff, but works great for resins and things. If the fumes, I find the fumes of the isopropyl alcohol to be much stronger than the resin, like significantly stronger. None of this is even in the realm of something as smelly as spray paint. So if those are the metrics, I would say spray paint is definitely the most offensive to the nose. Alcohol is probably second, and this resin is far. I mean, it's actually pleasant smelling down here, actually. Okay, UV light. You're gonna need some form of UV light. I've got a UV flashlight here. Probably gonna build some kind of fiber optic system to get inside the bottom of models like this. But this is the base to a model I printed. But okay, so you definitely need paper towels, rags. There's a lot of isopropyl alcohol down there. Gloves and funnels. Lots of gloves and funnels. This is too dark. You're not going to be able to see that. And masks. Okay. UV light, absolutely necessary for curing. This is my UV cabinet here. I built this just with some plywood and some paint. I've got, I don't want to blind anybody with this, but there you go. Got some UV light in there. I've got a little turntable. So you're going to need a way to cure these things. UV obviously does that. This is big enough to cure pretty much anything I can get off of here, and then some. Okay. So those are your basics. Printer, obviously, power, stable place, well ventilated, resin, rags, gloves, breathing mask, probably. Oh, goggles. I recommend goggles. Listen, this is your health. You don't want to be getting resin in your eyes, on your skin, in your mouth, anything else. So just do what makes sense to you. Take the precautions. This you don't want to be eating this stuff. So I've got a cool. This was only like $6 at Walmart, I think, but it's a two outlet grounded timer, and it's pretty granular as far as how you can turn these on and off. So I can use this to time my UV curing, and I can also use it to turn the heater off. Okay. Again, that goes in the nice to have category, but something you might want to think about, because some of these things you may just not want to leave on running all the time, but they do need a chunk of time, especially a base that's sort of beefy like this. You might want to let that cure, especially so you can get on the inside. I put some good size holes in there. Those are 12 millimeter holes, and I was able to flush that out pretty good, but you want to be able to get light in there and run it around for a while. So, okay. So that's my space right here. That's doing its thing. Down here, I've got a bin. I'm not going to touch it because I don't have any gloves on, but I've got a bin here just to rinse out parts. Again, got that over at Walmart. It's pretty cheap. It's just in the Tupperware section. They have a lot of like storage bins and things. I think it was probably $3 or $4. It's easily big enough to fit the build plate in it and other stuff, so you can kind of get around in there, wash stuff. I have some other gloves here, but there's 3 stages to this. There's the printing stage. That's easy, right? Plug it in, pour the resin, level the build plate, off you go. Then it's done. That's when you need gloves, mask, goggles. You got to get it in something. Isopropyl alcohol, you got to clean it up. All right, tools. These are my basic sort of cleaning tools here, and I've got a little station to clean these things. Clearly, I've got some isopropyl alcohol, toothbrush for scrubbing around, some snips, and that's the scraper that came with the Mono X. I've been using the plastic scraper. It also came with a metal scraper. Even with this plastic one, I've managed to scratch the build plate, and I'm gingerly trying to remove these things. So typically I wouldn't even, it's not like I'm going in attacking it like this. I'm like sort of placing it at the edge of one of the supports and sort of working it kind of side to side like this until I just lift one of the supports. And then since they're typically connected to one another, you can then just kind of like slide the rest of it away. I'm not cramming on the thing. Even just doing that, I managed to scratch the bottom of my build plate a little bit. So anyway, scraper of some kind, plastic scraper I've been having pretty decent luck with. I think the metal one would be easier, but it might damage the build surface even more. You're going to need alcohol and a lot of it, isopropyl alcohol for just getting rid of the resin. I've got a toothbrush for scrubbing. These snips are really awesome. They're small, and I use them to just to snip some of the supports off, especially if it's in a delicate area. You don't want to like bend and press the supports. You're going to want to just kind of get them free with some snips and maybe work them. So I would consider all of these essential. Spray bottle makes it a lot easier for getting into grooves and tight spaces on some of your models. And then even after it's all sort of been scrubbed, you want to give it a rinse with some clean isopropyl alcohol, so that works. Obviously, I had this laying around and the toothbrush. I would consider all of this essential, including the snips. If you don't have snips, I would recommend it. When this thing's covered in resin and you're over here wrestling with your supports, you'll thank me that you have snips. So I would get snips. You don't want to splash resin around or bust your model because you were like fighting it with your hands. Just clip it. Another thing, you probably want to get some kind of X-Acto knife. I have a few different sizes and stuff, but probably everybody has one of those. But I would consider that essential too. This is great for cleaning up models and cleaning some of the fine details and things. So this is the one I recommend. I forget what number that is, but that works great. If you're working on any kind of model that you're going to need to put together, I've been using Gorilla Glue. Works fine. Some people use resin and then just cure it with a flashlight. That's up to you. So those are the sort of nice to haves and must haves. Must have, nice to have, nice to have, must have electricity. Light is helpful. Knowing what the temp is pretty good, just because, again, this thing I think was probably, I don't know, $6 or something at Walmart. It's magnetic. UV curing of some kind is a must-have, so gotta have that. Like I said, I've got a turntable in there. I dig it. Probably didn't need it, but, I like it. This was fun. I just built this myself from some parts and stuff anyway, so. These things are all must-haves, plus the alcohol and an X-Acto knife. And I think you'll be good to go. It's really pretty fun. So let's talk a bit about my workflow. When the print's done, here's what I do. I get all this stuff out of the way. I've been leaving that where it is because it's kind of out of the way. I move the heater, shut everything down, of course. The build plate will retract. I'll grab my bin. Actually, that's wrong. This will be done. I'll move this. I'll power the machine off. I usually pull the USB drive out just so I don't spill anything on it. Okay, that's step one. Step two, I get gloves. I get goggles. Then I pull the top off. And once you pull the top off, there's definitely a little higher level of fumes inside here. Fine. I get my bin, plop it here. I get all my tools ready over here. I make sure I've got I make sure the alcohol's topped off. I make sure I've got all my tools. Boom. Ready to go. I grab a few extra rags. I leave them over here. I would recommend some old cardboard or something. You can see this has got stuff on there I've got to clean up. And then unscrew, pull my build plate into my bin. I take the whole thing over here where I give it a wash. I spray it down a little bit. Then I start prying it. Get everything taken apart, give it a rinse, and then trim off the supports, Rinse it down again. Make sure it's all well rinsed. You know, if it's hollow, you need to rinse the inside, all that part. Okay, fine. Rinse it good. Get all that resin off. Why? It's not just like, oh, get the resin off because I like to talk. Get the resin off because if you don't, what's going to happen is, here's a good example, actually. This happened to me. If the resin starts to leak, you'll be able to see, can I get light on this? See how it's like shiny down here? It's sort of matte here, but the back is shiny. That'll happen if a couple of things. If you've got resin still like on the surface of the model and you didn't scrub it, that'll happen. If you've got alcohol still wet on the surface and then you stick it in the curing, that does weird things to the surface too. So I give it a rinse. It's now soaked in alcohol, but clean, and you can sort of feel it's not quite as slick. Sometimes I will grab this thing and just plop the model in front of it on like some paper towels and a piece of wood or something. Let it dry off, or just let it air dry, whatever you want to do. I'm in a hurry because that's how I am. And then I stick the thing in my UV cabinet. How long to cure? That's up to you. There's debates all over the place. You want to get in a fight with somebody in the resin community, start talking about UV curing times, and you'll have a handful. I usually, if it's a big thing like this with a lot of holes and it's a sort of a deep model, I'll flop it on its side. I've run these things, some of these things I've run 3-4 hours, just to make sure the inside's cured. You know, I've kind of rotated around a few different directions, make sure I'm getting light on the inside. If it's just a solid model, you don't need to cure it quite as long. You probably do 30 minutes, probably be fine. As long as you're hitting it from all sides and it's solid, it should be okay. And then that's it. Then you know, obviously your other cleanup items, as far as cleaning up your alcohol and your resin, you want to cure any wet resin with either the flashlight or the curing oven, and then you're ready to print again. Now, in between prints, I've been leaving my resin just in here. I actually cover this with a t-shirt. I got another t-shirt. I just cover it with a t-shirt. If I've just got resin sitting here for like a day or two, I cover the whole unit with a t-shirt, so I do have a window over here, so I'm not getting any kind of UV light hitting this or dust or any garbage. I cover it up. When I need to start again, put on gloves, of course. There's a theme here. I'm sure you've noticed. Put on gloves. Shake up the resin. I actually warm it up in front of this heater for a little bit, maybe 20 minutes or so. Shake it up. Pour the resin in. Stir it around with that little plastic stirrer. And good to go. So anyway, I hope this helps somebody. I've had a ball setting all this stuff up, and my cousin's actually getting into FDM printing, so I'm gonna sort of explore some of his experiences. He's got an ender. I was thinking of getting an ender just for kicks. I've got a little space over here, so maybe we'll see. But anyway, I hope you enjoy this. This is my setup. It's been working pretty well for me, and have a good one.